HYENAS pits 5 teams of 3 against each other in the environment to engage, evade, exploit, and of course, steal their way to victory. Let's find out everything we can about HYENAS right now.
What's up, everybody? I'm Destin, and joining me to talk about HYENAS is Creative Director at Creative Assembly, Charlie Bewsher. Charlie, how are you doing today?
I'm great, thanks, Destin. Very excited to be here talking about HYENAS.
Well, why don't you tell everybody what is HYENAS?
HYENAS is a multiplayer, multi-team robbery game. It's 5 teams of 3 set on these vast spaceships full of security, switches, and gadgets. And our heroes, our anti-heroes, the HYENAS, they're these misfit pirates plundering their way through this pop culture galaxy, shooting clips, jacking ships, and robbing rich pricks. So basically, in our world, in our universe now, the rich have finally made it to Mars. The billionaires finally made it to Mars and made this paradise tax haven, and they left us all behind. But the tech they used destroyed the Earth. The billionaires are doing fine, of course, as they always are. But the one thing they miss on Mars is the pop culture flotsam we left behind when we evacuated. So they send these vast plunder ships back to Earth to pick this stuff up and to bring it back to Mars to sell it to their customers, where it gives them status, nostalgia, and it's what they really miss. But our anti-heroes, the HYENAS, they're not going to take, they've lost their future, and they're not going to take that lying down anymore. So they're going to attack these plunder ships as they come past and rob them of this merch. And these ships aren't defenseless. Like I said, they're full of security, they're full of sensors and switches and interactive systems and gadgets. So you've got this great environment for this competitive game to take place on. Some people might call it PvEvP, but we call it PvEvP, 3 times the gameplay.
Well, that sounds really, really cool, and you've actually used a unique art style to tell this story. How would you describe the look that you've gone for? Why did you go for that look, and what tone are you trying to set with it?
Yeah, sure. I think there's 2 parts to this answer. And the first thing it's very important to us that when you look at the game, when our players see this game, they can tell it's brazen and irreverent and larger than life, but they've also got to tell it doesn't take itself too seriously. So we went for something that was somewhat illustrative as well. So I'd call it really graphic novel cover style, I guess. It's very easy when you're making a sort of apocalyptic near future game to go dark and gloomy, but we didn't want to go that way. It didn't fit the tone. We wanted something brighter and more welcoming. So we avoided that sort of gloomy 80s neon cyberpunk look and instead went for what I call an app punk look. So we have these corporations running Mars, and we've got this concept of big data and gamification, and really consumers as products. That's what we're riffing off here. So we wanted to get this sort of like dystopia, this authoritarian dystopia via a well-being app, if you like. So that's kind of like what's shaped the look of the game.
So you've told me a little bit about this world. I'm really curious, is there a single player component or is there lore in the multiplayer where I can learn more about what's happened to this universe?
So this is a multiplayer game. It's a fast-paced multiplayer experience. But we've built this really rich, deep lore, fun and funny too, right? And the whole game experience is imbued with this. The environments, the messaging around the environments, the actual game mode itself, how we present all of the gadgets, and of course, what all of the characters, the HYENAS, what they talk about themselves, what they talk about the world they're in, and their relationships with each other. But what really drove the development of HYENAS was when we started thinking about this game, battle royales were becoming popular, and we were really interested in how they broke the paradigm of the 2-team arena battle, and they create these really asymmetrical, unpredictable experiences. It might be 3 or 4 teams coming together of various sizes in combat. You would face off with each other with completely different loadouts. I might have a frying pan and you might have an AK. And of course, where you started in the game was luck. So we really like the way these unpredictable, almost chaotic, asymmetrical situations create new gameplay and new tactics, and importantly, new player stories. And so that's what we took from it. We didn't want to make a battle royale, but we wanted to take that idea of creating this sort of unpredictable, chaotic space where players would find this new gameplay, find new tactics, and ultimately find new player stories.
Can you actually tell me about one of those unexpected gameplay moments that you experienced?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you loads about them. So it could be that your team's been wiped and you are racing to find the respawn point, and you're flying down one of our zero-G corridors, and you've got bullets whizzing behind you, clanging off all the metal, and you're dropping grenades behind you in zero-G, to try and blow them, of course. And you make it to an open door, and you just manage to slide under before it slides down shut, and then you turn around and you foam it shut, and you've got maybe 20 seconds to get away. That's quite, those sorts of things happen. And then it may be that you're attacking one of the vaults to rob the merch, and you're dealing with the security systems. Then all of a sudden another team comes in and starts trying to ambush you. And you've really got to try and work out, do you disengage? Do you try and maneuver around the NPCs, get an advantage, and kind of like push them onto the other team? And or it could be that you win that encounter and you finally get to the vault. You get to the vault and you open it and you step in, and what you're stealing, well, maybe it's actually the first album that you ever bought. And I'm really happy, right, that, if I can be a heretical creative director and have a moment of anti-immersion, right, where we really touch you, and for a second you feel the emotion the characters in the game and the Mars Elite do as they feel that connection with that piece of IP.
Well, I have to ask about the characters. There's a lot of very colorful characters in this game. Do they have any unique abilities? How do they each differ?
So when we started making the characters from a gameplay perspective, of course you have your hero tropes, gameplay tropes, but for HYENAS, we had this common gameplay thread running through every part of the gameplay, which was engage, evade, exploit. And we see that in the characters, we see that in the ships, in the gadgets, in the vaults. And we wanted to answer this question, right? We wanted to give players maximum agency when they played this game. So evade characters, obviously they go in all guns blazing, they have a very unsubtle approach to the game. And then we have evade. Evade in HYENAS is a little bit of stealth, I guess, and a little bit of recon, but really it's a celebration of fast-paced, skillful movement. So be that dodging in between laser tripwires on your way to a vault, or slaloming down a zero-G corridor. And then we have exploit. And exploit is the intelligent way to play HYENAS. It's about using the ship systems, the NPCs, the switches, the gravity systems, and the chaos to your advantage. So we think about those three concepts when we're creating all of our characters.
So I have to ask, how did you invent these characters' personalities? I think a lot of characters nowadays in games have become fan favorites through their personalities, through various lines or lore, and I'm really curious to hear how you develop these characters' backgrounds.
Yeah, that was a really fun challenge. So once we understood their gameplay space, as we talked about before, we then applied two creative pillars. One was anti-heroes. Why are these people criminals? What is it that they're missing? And then the other one was out of place in space, right? So for these characters to be out of place in where they are, we have to really ground them somewhere else. We wanted our HYENAS to be extremely relatable and recognizable. So we look for archetypes that we all know, right? That you may follow, or you may be friends with, or you see on TV or whatever. And then once we understood what that archetype was going to be, and our creative and concept teams worked those up, we then work with consultants who knew that archetype particularly well. Right? It's very important to us that we made fully rounded characters, not stereotypes. So we work with the consultants to get all the rich detail of who these people were. And then the next stage was to cast the actor very carefully and then work with them to develop the character even further. One of the fun things we did was we would run these mockumentary interviews where we would ask them to improv an interview, really, where we were asking them questions about their life on the taint and why they became a hyena, and they'll be improving why that was. And it's through a combination of these kind of four things, our creative teams, the consultants, the actors, and the gameplay. It's through those four things that we brought these characters and made really rounded, three-dimensional gameplay characters. And we're really looking forward to revealing these as we move forward development.
Huge shout out to our partners at SEGA and Creative Assembly. HYENAS is coming to Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One and One X, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and PC sometime in 2023. Visit playhyenas.com to find out even more about the game and to sign up for the alpha. And of course, stay tuned to IGN.